We no afraid, we no see no one where we afraid of. We no afraid, we no see no one where we afraid of. Yeah, this is Everton Blender, and it's all about the young police from Jamaica, seeing Young Police Channel. Big up yourself, Everton Blender said that. We no afraid, we no see no one where we afraid of. Blessed love, Rastafari.
Yes, welcome to the Jamaica Young Police Channel. To our loyal viewers, subscribers and Patreon member. At the channel, we are a group of law-abiding citizens who believe in the rule of law and respect the rights of every citizen, but not the ones who do not subscribe to such behavior. We do believe in and support preemptive strikes because they save lives. This is a logical conclusion because preemptive strikes save lives and prevent the further loss of lives. We are all about saving lives at this channel. We at the channel aid criminals with a passion and do not want them over here. We do not want your views, your subscriptions, your likes or your comments. Please go elsewhere where the red carpet is waiting for you. Over here, we want you to go to prison or the departure lounge at Madden. Moving on to today's video. Yeah, so we're going to tell you a story about a Jamaican female gangster. Yeah, one of the most feared female gangsters in America. The ruthless reign of Claudia Clear Baker. And people was living in the United States back then, especially in New York here, would have remembered her during the 1980s and 90s. Jamaica's deadliest female criminal to ever set foot in the United States was none other than Claudia Clear Baker, infamously known as the drug queenpin. So you have kingpin and she are the queenpin. Yeah, so she born out of the harsh reality of Kingston, Jamaica, and hardened by a life of survival. So Baker become a name synonymous with fear, power, and destruction. Her reign during the 1980s and 1990s over drug trade turned her into a feared figure, not just among her rivals, but within entire communities that she ruled with an iron fist. Background a life built in shadows. Claudia's Baker's story began in the volatile street of Kingston, Jamaica, where poverty and violence were woven into the very fabric of life. She learned early that the strength to survival and survival was everything. Desperate for a way out, she immigrated to the United States in the 1980s, but the American dream would remain elusive. Instead, Baker chose to carve her life version of power, one built on illicit foundations of the drug trade. Armed with the connections that she had nurtured back in Jamaica, Baker quickly infiltrated the underground narcotic scenes in the US, using her fierce determination and calculating mind to build an empire. In the shadows of New York, Florida and California, Claudia Baker was more than a drug dealer. She was a queen, ruling a vast network that was deadly, unstoppable and meticulously organized. So she had an empire of blood and drugs, drug trafficking, the queenpin, crown jewel. At the heart of Claudia's Baker's empire was drug trafficking, specifically cocaine and marijuana. She didn't just sell drugs, she dominated the market, utilizing an intricate network of smugglers, couriers and enforcers. Baker brought staggering quantity of narcotics into the United States from Jamaica and other Caribbean nations. Her operations were so sophisticated that they evaded law enforcement for years, all while her wealth grew exponentially. Baker's drug flow through the veins of American streets, fueling addiction and violence, and solidify her grip on the criminal underworld. Money laundering, the illusion of legitimacy, with millions of dollars pouring in, Baker needed to conceal her illegal fortune. She did this through the labyrinth of legitimate businesses, nightclubs, restaurants and real estate ventures, that served as fronts for laundering her dirty money. What looked like a prosperous businesswoman to outsiders was in reality the orchestrator of financial empire built on debt and destruction. Her ability to mask her crimes behind a veil of legitimacy only added to her mystique and made her even more dangerous. So she used violence and intimidation, a reign of terror. So Claudia's Baker power didn't come from businesses or acumen alone. It came from fear. She was known for ruthless violence that left both enemies and disloyal allies in body bags. Rivals who dared to challenge her faced swift retribution. Hitmen were dispatched, assassinations were ordered, and gruesome murders became her calling card. She ruled through fear, and her capacity for brutality knew no bounds. Those who crossed Baker rarely lived to tell the tale, and her control over her operation was absolute because of this iron fist approach. Corruption and bribery, power over the system. Baker's criminal prowess extend beyond the streets she infiltrated. The very systems meant to stop her, law enforcement officials, custom agents, and even politicians fell prey to her bribes. For years, her empire flourished because those who should have arrested her were in her pocket. So Jamaican, she brought her, the criminal culture come to America and infiltrate, and if you're not corrupt, people can't, if you're not corrupt, nobody can corrupt you. So she was able to corrupt even Americans in America, politicians and police alike. So this network of corruption allowed her to continue her reign for far longer than law enforcement had anticipated. Untouchable and seemingly invincible, Claudia Baker moved through the ranks of organized crime with terrifying ease. So no empire lasts forever. By the mid-1990s, law enforcement began closing in on Baker's sprawling operation. The US government, frustrated by the devastation her drug empire wreaked on American cities, launched a multi-investigation agency aimed specifically at dismantling her network. In 1996, the walls finally came crashing down. During a highly coordinated sting operation, Baker was arrested and her empire began to unravel. So Claudia Baker trial was a spectacle as the full weight of her criminal legacy was revealed. Prosecutors presented an overwhelming evidence, including testimony from former associates who once feared her wrath but now saw no other option but to betray her. They painted a chilling picture of a woman who orchestrated murders, smuggled vast quantities of narcotics and laundered millions with ruthless efficiency that was as awe-inspiring as it was terrifying. Evidence was damning and it left little doubt in the mind of the jurors. Baker was convicted of charges of drug trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. In the end, she was submitted to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a stark contrast to the life of wealth and power she had once known. The drug queen was now confined to a prison cell, her empire in ruins. So this is a legacy of cautionary tale. Claudia Cleo Baker's name still sends shivers down the spines of those who remember her reign. Her story is one of ambition turned deadly, of a woman who sought power in the world that offered her none. And in doing so, she became a monster. She's a stark reminder of a human toll that organized crime leaves in its wakes. The lives destroys, the communities shatter, and the lasting scars left behind. In the lore of Jamaican-American criminal history, Baker's rise and fall remain a cautionary tale, a grim testament to the seduction of power and the price of playing a deadly game of drug trafficking. For all the money, fear, and control she amassed, her ultimate legacy is one of tragedy, a woman consumed by her own desire for dominance, trapped by the life that she created. So as we tell you, a life of crime and two places going to end up. The departure of our prison. So this is the life that she had, come to know. It's nothing else, because she migrated from Jamaica with this criminal culture. She could have come, she could have migrated and, do her life, make her life better, But she imported Jamaican criminal culture to America, and all its destruction that comes with it, being a criminal. Jamaican criminal culture in America and its destructive legacy. The migration of Jamaican criminal culture to the United States has profound and far-reaching effects, altering the landscape of organized crime, deepening social culture, and fracture and perpetuating cycle of violence from the ghettos of Kingston to bustling streets of New York, Miami, and beyond. Jamaican criminal networks brought with them ruthless mentality shaped by decades of political violence, poverty, and disenfranchisement back home. This culture, centered on loyalty to violent gangs and the pursuit of power through illicit means, have left a trail of destructions across America's urban communities. So the origin born in blood and conflict, Jamaica's criminal culture was forged in furnace of political violence, most notably in the 1970s to October 1980, when the PNP criminal organization party sent young men to train in Cuba in guerrilla warfare, the use of firearms, and make and detonate of explosive in Cuba by the PNP criminal organization Prime Minister Michael Manley. And he did this with a means to maintain control over key voting districts. So this era saw a rise of notorious Dons, gang leader who wielded immense power, often with tacit support of the political class of the PNP criminal organization. And the Jamaica Labour Party, in response, had to find ways to defend their communities. So you see, we are telling a long time, say PNP a problem. So that's how this woman come America and cause problem. So these gangs primarily based in Kingston, volatile inner cities, communities, turn to drug trafficking, extortion and violence to secure their dominance. A formula that would be later exported to the United States. Many Jamaican migrants carry the scars of this violent history with them. Some were fleeing the dangerous political climate, while others were seeking new opportunities in the United States. However, the same criminal network that dominated Kingston Street found fertile ground in American cities, particularly during the 1980s crack cocaine epidemic. Gangs like the Gullyman Posse, Shower Posse, affiliated with the Jamaica ruling elites, became infamous in the United States, bringing with them the brutal tactics that they had honed back home, killing machines. So the exportation of violence and drug trafficking. The introduction of the Jamaican drug gangs in America coincided with one of the most devastating drug crises in U.S. history, the crack epidemic. The Shower Posse, the Gullyman Posse, the Dark Posse, another criminal organization. At first, we hear about the Dark Posse, swiftly took advantage of the high demand for narcotics, particularly cocaine and marijuana. These gangs established this distribution network that ran from Kingston to New York, Miami, and as far as California. What made these Jamaican gangs particularly fearsome was their willingness to use extreme violence to secure their market share. Their brutal reputation characterized by indiscriminate shootings, execution, and even the use of high-power weapons like machine guns set them apart from other criminal enterprises operating in the U.S. The term posse itself became synonymous with a level of cruelty and terror that struck fear into the heart of their rivals and law enforcement alike in America. The Gullyman Posse, especially in New York, were not afraid to use violence and even kill police officers These men are predominantly from the Kingston eastern part of Jamaica, which was controlled by the former Prime Minister back then in the 70s, Michael Manley. These guys did not fear law enforcement, as they would kill police back in Jamaica, and they would brought their killings to America and kill police officers. This culture of violence wasn't just about securing profits. It was also a reflection of a deeply entrenched gang loyalty and machismo inherited from Jamaica. Young members often saw themselves as soldiers in a larger battle for control, where respect and power were won through acts of bloodshed. In cities like Miami and New York, these gangs terrorized entire neighborhoods, with murder rates soaring as they battled for dominance. Innocent civilians were often caught in the crossfire, and communities were left shattered, gripped by fear and despair. The destructive impact on communities, the Jamaican criminal presence in the United States, devastated many urban communities, especially in cities with large immigrant populations. Jamaican gangs prey on their own people, using intimidation, extortion and violence to maintain control over immigrant neighborhoods. The constant threat of violence stunted economic growth and fostered a culture of fear and lasted for years. Additionally, the crack cocaine epidemic that Jamaican gangs played a major role in fueling had a crippling effect on many African American and Caribbean communities. Entire generations were ravaged by addictions, with families torn apart and children left without parents. That's why I tell you, say, Buju Banton is not good somebody, because you see that the gang strangled hold on these areas made it nearly impossible for law enforcement to penetrate, as many residents were too terrified to speak out. The culture of criminality extended beyond the streets and into prisons, where incarcerated Jamaican gang members continue to assert their influence. This prison-to-street pipeline helped sustain gang network across borders, further entrenching the violence and drug trade that left communities caught in a cycle of destruction. The spread of Jamaican criminal culture to American soil became a cancer that metastasized, leaving long-lasting scar on urban landscape. So you see Jamaican come in America and destroy the people in them country. So the influence of music, pop culture, glorifying criminality. One of the more insidious ways in which Jamaican criminals' culture infiltrate American society was through music and popular culture. You hear that now. Dancehall music, which had its roots in Jamaica, became a global phenomenon in the 1990s and 2000s, particularly in the United States. While much of the dancehall music is celebratory and uplifting, a darker strain image that glorifies violence, gang warfare, and the badman persona. Songs that lionize notorious dance, glorify gunplay, and celebrate criminal lifestyle found an eager audience, particularly among disillusioned youth in American cities. Figures like Christopher Dudu Squawk, Claude Massop were not only feared criminals but became folk heroes in the eyes of many, both in Jamaica and abroad. And Lester, Jim Brown, Coke, that I do this father, this glamorization of the gangster lifestyle blurred the line between entertainment and reality, perpetuating a destructive narrative that violence and crime were a path to power and respect. So the long arm of justice dismantling the gangs, law enforcement eventually began to catch up with the Jamaican criminal network, but it took years of coordinated effort between United States and Jamaica to dismantle these powerful organizations. Operations like Operation Rum Punch and Operation Kingfish targeted the leadership of most notorious gangs, including the arrest and extradition of major figures like Christopher Dudu Squawk, the head of the Shower Posse. However, the destruction these gangs left behind continued to haunt the communities they once controlled. Even as law enforcement agencies dismantle the networks, the cultural legacy of violence and crime persisted. Many young people in America inner city raised in the shadow of these gangs found themselves drawn into the same destructive cycle of crime and punishment. The enduring legacy of a cautionary tale. The migration of Jamaican criminal culture to America serves as a cautionary tale of how deeply entrenched criminality can become when it is born out of political instability, poverty, and violence. All of it goes right back to one white man, Michael Manley, the man who's responsible for the birth of importing criminality and terrorism to the Jamaican people, after he had sent close to 2,500 young men to Cuba to train in the guerrilla warfare, use and carry a firearm, making and detonating of bombs to inflict terror on the Jamaican population for his own benefit, to maintain political power over the people that he claimed that he loved. If this is love, I would not like to see it. This man was the epitome of evil and Satan incarnate. So what began as local gang warfare in Jamaica metastasized into an international network of drug trafficking and organized crime that left devastation in its wake. Today, the story of Jamaican criminal culture in America is a reminder of the far-reaching consequences of allowing crime to become ingrained in our society. The cultural, social, and economic destruction that followed the gangs' migration across the Atlantic have left scars on both Jamaican and American communities, scars that may take generations to heal. For those who lived through it, the era of Jamaican gangs in America represents a dark chapter in the history of organized crime, one that still echoes in the streets of Kingston and the alleyways of New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. It is a sobering reminder of the danger of glorifying criminality and the lasting damage that such culture can inflict on individuals, families, and entire nations. That's why we're saying, we're bonfire upon criminality. And you see how responsible for it, Michael Manley. And then as a year, we read the thing, it said the labor rights were forced to find ways to defend themselves because of Michael Manley's policies. 2,500 young men. And then them use the music for normalize and romanticize criminality and them market it as something nice, lionize murderers and criminals through the music. And then it come and gain a foothold in American urban centers and see it destroy lives. Choose a life of being a law-abiding citizen. Reject criminality. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up at the departure lounge or prison. Who wants to live like that? Who wants to live a life on edge? Who wants to live a life of stress? The most important thing, you just live a life and live it to the fullest without any fanfare or criminality. You want to be a law-abiding citizen. Have yourself a beautiful day. Jamaica Young Police Channel out.